The world today feels shaky. We are bombarded with news of political divisions, economic turmoil, and social unrest. This constant instability takes a toll on our collective mental well-being. It's not just in our heads. Research shows a clear link between unstable environments and increased rates of anxiety and depression. When the world feels unpredictable, our brains go into overdrive. We are wired to scan for threats. But when threats seem constant, our stress response doesn't get a chance to switch off. This chronic stress sets the stage for mental health issues. It's crucial to understand that we are not just individuals struggling in isolation. Our anxieties are often a rational response to a world that feels increasingly irrational. Recognizing this connection is the first step towards reclaiming our mental health. Political polarization and instability create a breeding ground for anxiety and depression. When trust in institutions erodes, we lose our sense of security and predictability. This can leave us feeling unmoored and vulnerable. Furthermore, rapid cultural shifts can lead to a sense of disorientation and even a loss of identity. This phenomenon, known as koinostalgia, describes the unease we experience when familiar cultural norms are challenged or disappear. It's a longing for a shared understanding of the world that no longer exists. The constant barrage of divisive rhetoric and social media echo chambers only exacerbates these feelings. We become more isolated, more suspicious, and more entrenched in our own perspectives. This can make it difficult to engage in constructive dialogue and find common ground. Economic instability is another major driver of anxiety and depression. The fear of job loss, financial ruin, or an uncertain future weighs heavily on our minds. Studies have shown that economic uncertainty can impair cognitive function, similar to the effects of sleep deprivation. This cognitive strain makes it harder to think clearly, make decisions, and cope with stress. It also erodes our resilience, making us more susceptible to mental health issues. Financial strain, in particular, is a well-established risk factor for chronic anxiety, depression, and sleep disturbances. The stress of living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to make ends meet, or facing mounting debt takes a significant toll on our mental well-being. It's a constant source of worry and insecurity that can feel impossible to escape. Section 4. Inside the anxious mind, the neuroscience of uncertainty and fear. To understand the profound impact of instability on our mental health, we need to look at what's happening inside the brain. When we experience uncertainty, our amygdala, the brain's fear center, becomes hyperactive. This triggers the release of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, preparing our bodies for a fight or flight response. However, in today's world, these threats are often not immediate physical dangers, but rather chronic stressors like political instability or economic uncertainty. This means our stress response stays activated for prolonged periods, leading to a cascade of negative effects on our brains and bodies. Chronic stress can disrupt the balance of neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, which are crucial for mood regulation. It can also lead to synaptic loss, impairing communication between brain cells. Furthermore, elevated cortisol levels can actually shrink the hippocampus, a brain region involved in memory and emotional regulation. This explains why chronic stress can lead to problems with concentration, memory, and emotional control. Section 5. A generation in distress. The rise of anxiety and depression in the 2020s. The consequences of living in an increasingly unstable world are starkly evident in the rising rates of anxiety and depression, particularly among young people. The World Health Organization reported a 25% increase in the prevalence of these conditions globally in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, a period marked by unprecedented uncertainty and disruption. While the pandemic undoubtedly exacerbated existing mental health challenges, it also shone a light on the urgent need for greater awareness, support, and systemic change. It's time to recognize that mental health is not a personal failing, but rather a collective responsibility. We need to create a world that prioritizes well-being, fosters resilience, and provides individuals with the tools and resources they need to navigate life's inevitable challenges. This includes addressing the root causes of anxiety and depression, such as political polarization, economic inequality, and social isolation. By working together to create a more just, equitable, and compassionate world, we can cultivate a healthier future for ourselves and generations to come.